All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this first technical assistance call to go over the Community Pilot Project Program that is led by the National African American Child and Family Research Center. My name is Latrice Rollins. I'm honored to serve as the director and principal investigator for the center. And I'm going to ask my colleagues to introduce themselves. Dr. Mayberry.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Mayberry. I'm the co-lead for capacity building for the center. I'm also a professor in the Department of Community Health and Preventive Medicine here at Morehouse School of Medicine.
Awesome. Ms. Stroud? And you're on mute.
Okay, there we are. Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to you. My name is Jeree Stroud. I am also the co-lead with my colleague, Dr. Mayberry. I'm so happy to be here. I am also the project director here at the Satchel Health Leadership Institute and Morehouse School of Medicine. Welcome.
Awesome. Ms. Meadows? You're on mute too.
I am Michelle Meadows. I am research administrator for the center and whatever else Dr. Rollins may need me to be.
Thank you. Dr. King Gordon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tandika King Gordon. I serve as the Associate Director for the National African American Child and Family Research Center. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to get started today. We're just going to give you a little bit of background about the center, and then I will turn it over to Dr. Mayberry to talk about the pilot project program and particularly how you all can apply for the program. And then we'll entertain any questions that you all have. So you can go to the next slide. The mission of the National African American Child and Family Research Center is to provide national leadership and excellence in community engaged research, which will better serve African American children and families. Next slide. And so we do that through three goals. Our goals are in the areas of research, capacity building, which is what this program falls under, and communication. And so as it relates to research, our goal is to advance a community engaged in a high caliber research program that's focused on African American families. And we do that through developing an interdisciplinary research agenda that is really going to look at the theory, look at methods, and look at some of the programmatic concerns of the Administration for Children and Families, which is our funder. And so we collaborate with the community and with our partners to develop and implement our research agenda. Next slide. And as it relates to our capacity building, our goal is to build the research capacity and infrastructure to conduct research that's relevant to the Administration for Children and Families program and policy goals. And so we do that through developing tools, resources, and approaches that will equip folks to do their own research, particularly with African Americans. We also provide consultation, professional development, and this pilot project program to support and encourage the work of researchers. And that's not just folks who are in academia, but people who are in community working with African American families that really want to do work to investigate relevant questions to our funder and as well as to our center priorities. We also have an emerging scholars program for undergraduate and graduate students who are interested in health and human service fields and going into research. And so we provide mentoring and support to them as well. Next slide. And as far as communication, we really truly believe that it's, not good to just do the research, but we have to share it. And that means sharing it back with those who have participated in the surveys and listening sessions and all of those things, but also just sharing various research products that can help inform policy and programs. And so we do that through a comprehensive dissemination strategy. Our audiences include community, include researchers, agencies, just a number of audiences to make sure that the work, the data gets out to folks who can really take action based off of the research that's done. And so we develop research products, resources, and enact this comprehensive communication plan to make sure that there's comprehensive understanding of African American families' experiences, assets, as well as needs that will help to inform policy development and programmatic response. So as a center, our research priorities are to look at definitions and measurements. Again, as I said, needs, assets, and experiences of African American families. We're also looking at any barriers and facilitators that impact services to and utilization of services by African Americans. We also want to examine strategies that promote social and economic well-being. So what are some things that are working, various case studies and best practices. And we also are looking at promising approaches to service provision to African American families. So our priority areas, we primarily focus on the TANF program, which is around economic self-sufficiency and alleviating poverty. And we also focus in on early education and care. So that would be the Head Start, early Head Start programs, and childcare assistance programs. And these are our guiding principles, which are really have been developed by the Administration for Children and Families in terms of the ways in which we conduct our research and the principles that are important to guide any research proposals. We want to make sure that the research is rigorous, that it is relevant to the communities, particularly African American families and communities that we are serving. We want to be transparent, not only in our methods, but again, as I stated earlier, making sure that we are sharing back the findings and the results of our research, being independent, meaning somewhat being objective about the research, letting the research and the voices of our community participants speak for ourselves and not putting our own kind of spin on things, and also being ethical at all times. We know that research has a reputation in our communities, and we want to make sure that folks are informed and they give consent, and anything that we are researching, that it does not create harm, in, making sure that everything is done well and in a transparent way. So we follow those principles and certainly expect that anyone that we're working with would also follow those principles as well. We also have community values, and they kind of align with what I just spoke about in terms of the guiding principles. These values were created by our Prevention Research Center's Community Coalition Board, which is comprised primarily of community residents. And so they created this list of values for how they would look at various research proposals that were coming to the research center, and particularly in front of community members to say whether or not this was a study that should be done or not. And so I won't read through all of these, but just letting you all know again that these are some of the values along with the guiding principles that we expect our partners, and we definitely follow these ourselves. We'll go to the next slide. And the next one. All right, now we'll turn it over to Dr. Mayberry to get into what the Community Pilot Project Program is and how you can apply.
Thank you, Dr. Rollins, and let me add my welcome to all of you for participating with us today in this so-called technical assistant webinar. I happen to think that the Community Pilot Project is fun work, and so we're here to assist you going forward as you express your interest in the Pilot Project Program, and if you're successful in the award, of course, we're here to assist you going forward as well. But it is indeed your research, and we are looking forward to your new ideas coming forward as you help us improve the well-being of African American children and family. Well, the purpose of the pilot program is designed to build the capacity, community capacity to conduct research that is both responsive and relevant to the well-being of African American families, children and families. Next slide, please. And we have phases that we work through, starting with that one-page summary of a proposed project. And as you can see, the phase one of the project actually runs from September 2024 all the way through February 2025. And in phase one, there are 1, 2, 3 different deliverables that are appropriate here. A one-page summary, of which we can assist you with as you are preparing to submit forward. If you have some ideas that we can share some thoughts around it, we're more than happy to do so. Obviously, because we're an academic center and we have to be cognizant of our liability for doing human research, there is human subject research training that you will participate in, and we look forward to your doing so. And of course, the submission of the study protocol to MSM, Institutional Review Board, is critically important for making sure that we are dotting the i's, crossing the t's as an academic institution and keeping us all safe, but particularly keeping residents' participation in community research safe as well. The next slide, please. In addition to those deliverables in phase 2, which is March 2025 through August 2025, as you can see, we're trying to kind of align this with the academic year in many ways. Those deliverables during this phase would be as you see appropriate, which is data collection for the pilot project. Could be the nature of surveys, interviews, focus groups as you determine your research strategies and methodologies. A presentation of the results, a brief report of the results, and then a description of the next step. Keep in mind, as Dr. Rollins has mentioned, and as we've indicated as well, the pilot project program is really to get you started in community-based community participation, participatory research, or community engaged research in general, as we refer to it. And hopefully the pilot project kind of pushes you forward to doing the type of research that you're particularly interested in as it aligns with the center. Next slide, please. Let me just mention a few things about the research support. We've already mentioned some of them. I have the responsibility here at Morehouse School of Medicine to be the director of the Research Design and Biostatistics Core. And so we are available to assist you as you begin to conceptualize your project. We can give you some thoughts on the data analytical component of it. And of course, we can also support you through one-on-one consultations or any type of support that you might need. One-on-one consultation, we also do what we call a studio consultation, where we can bring in a group of persons who are keenly aware of research design, biostatistical approaches that can assist you forward as you have your questions going forward as well. In addition, the center has a tremendous number of content experts, our faculty co-investigators. They are available to you as well to help you conceptualize your project, or as you get into the field, if you're successful with us, they can help you as you begin your data collection, data interpretation, even manuscript preparation, presentation, and the whole nine yards. So we're wanting really to provide the kind of research support that is critically important to make sure that you are doing as well, and making sure that we are generating meritorious research for the center and as it applies to the programmatic area of the federal agencies. Next slide, please. So let's mention just a few things about eligibility, and these are our eligibility requirements for the community pilot projects. You must be a community-based organization, so defined and designated as a 501c3 organization by the Internal Revenue Code. And I'm pretty sure all of you are quite familiar with that if you're a CBO. And we are looking for CBOs who primarily serve African-American children and or families. Next slide, please. Let me talk through this as well. And if I'm going too far into this, Dr. Rollins, pause me and we take some questions and or make a transition. But in any case, though, here's where we're delighted that we have the opportunity to offer these awards. We anticipate funding a maximum of 3 awards up to $20,000 to be awarded over a 12-month period beginning September of this year, 2024. And of course, the budget may include non-administrative personnel, salaries, fringe benefits, but it can also include consultants. Some of you may be working with academic consultants or community expert consultants as well that might help you move forward in your meritorious research at the community level. And obviously you can bring them onto your project as well. But in addition, the budget can provide the necessary supplies that you might need to conduct your research, as well as other approved expenses as we go forward. Please keep just a minor note here that the budget may not include capital expenditures for equipment or even rental costs of on-site facilities. That is prohibited on our end, and of course prohibited by our funding source as well. Next slide, please. Let's speak of the intent to submit. The fact that you are all here today gives me delight that you are particularly interested in moving forward. An intent to submit is an indication that you're ready to go forward, and of course, we're ready to get behind you. And it's a simple, straightforward project that is not required, but we strongly recommend that you submit that intent. That intent is simply a project title, a description of community identified, description of a community identified issue that you will inquire about into the future, wanting to inquire about. And we're wanting to make sure that your area of choice is one of the priorities of the center as well. That deadline for the intent is May 17th at 5 p.m. I'm pretty sure Dr. Robbins is a stickler for 5 p.m. deadline, so try not to miss your 5 p.m. deadline. If you cannot, if you have some issue prior to that time, of course, let us know way in advance of May 17th, our deadline. Again, it's not required, but we recommend that you do so. It kind of puts us in a positions of providing even additional technical assistance as need be, consultation, whatever the case might be as you go forward into your work. Next slide, please. All right, so the application requirements, I'm sure you all have read it, but let me just explore this with you very quickly. There's a cover letter. The cover letter is really kind of indicating who you are, what you're doing, how you're going forward, but keep it simple, straightforward, but it's indicating really that you are applying for the funds. And it essentially is a proposal narrative. It is a description of the community served, the priority areas that you would like to address in your proposed pilot project. It's also as an explanation of how the pilot project will help address, as we said, the selected priorities of the center. And of course, we're really interested in a description of your organization and capacity that you have to address the priorities of the center. A description of your interest in conducting community engaged research in general and the pilot project and specifically is also what we're looking for in your cover letter. I would say that the proposal itself, proposal narrative really kind of makes the case for you as you move forward and gives us additional information for our critical review as it goes forward. Next slide, please. Continuing on with budget application requirements, we mentioned a bit already about the budget and budget justification, about the budget, but let me mention just a few words about the budget justification. Essentially, you're asking for a budget to do the work in the next 12 months, give or take. And obviously, you're justifying each of the items that you think are critically important that runs the gamut from your personnel, your consultants, your supplies as need be, and those other things that are critically important to carry the research forward. Obviously, we'll look for a copy of your organization 501c3 status. And it also gives additional information for our critical review, the review team, if you have resumes of your team members. This is how the reviewers get to know who your team members are. Obviously, tells us a little bit about the expertise, research experience, capacity that you have as indicated by those resumes. The letter of commitment and bio sketches from faculty members is critically important as it is applicable for your pilot project. If you have faculty members from other institutions, we certainly see them as part of your overall team. And obviously a letter of commitment kind of indicates, and that bio sketch gives us additional information about the expertise, the research experience that's applicable to add some additional capacity to your application as well. We're trying to make responses to as promptly as possible to your oral or written responses to prompts. Can be oral or written, I'm sorry, with the exception of budget supporting the documents. The deadline in any case for the application requirements is June 21, 2024, again at 5 p.m. Next slide, please. Okay.
We can take it from here, Dr. Mayberry. Thank you so much.
All right, I was kind of gearing up to keep going. But
oh, yeah, listen, if you want to, you can.
I'm just kidding, go right ahead.
You can keep going.
Yeah.
And if you all have questions, be ready to ask those in a few moments as we're about done here. So as far as, onboarding, once your project is selected, you will have to complete some vendor forms, a W-9 form in order for you to be in Morehouse School of Medicine system for payment. And so we will complete these, or at least submit them for you once you are selected. Next slide. We'll also develop an agreement, which will just lay out what the scope of work. So it's basically going to include the deliverables that Dr. Mayberry talked about that are happening between those two phases. So that first phase of you developing a one-page summary of the research project and just participating in submitting an institutional review board application, those types of things. All of that will be included in the agreement. And it's basically a standard agreement that Morehouse School of Medicine uses to just, again, make sure that we're all on the same page and that you will receive payment for the work completed. Next slide. So you will submit an invoice. So at the end of those phases, you'll submit an invoice and we will be able to submit that and you will receive payment that typically pay our vendors within 30 to 45 days once the invoice is approved. And if there's any delays in that or any questions, we will make sure that we give you some updates and advocate on your behalf to make sure that payments are made timely. Yeah, and so that's kind of the end of the slide and our presentation. And so I will turn it over to you all if you have questions or comments, concerns, anything like that. What's new this year is the ability to submit your responses in an oral format. So if you wanted to do a video or you wanted to kind of do audio, can do that. We just being more flexible and understanding that sometimes the writing portion of things can be intimidating. So we want to make sure that, folks are able to communicate however they feel comfortable with their work. And so that's a new portion for this year, but any questions?
Dr. Rollins, there is one in the chat from Joyce Hall.
Yes, and I'm checking to see if that is the case, but if not, then it's essentially the same. But we can make sure that the updated one is on the website, but it's the same kind of information.
Yeah, I was just on the website and it's and downloaded it and it's for the application is for 2023.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll get with them to make sure they upload the correct one, but the information is still the same in terms of the content that needs to be submitted.
We have Mary Wilson with her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for providing this information, and I'm excited about the pilot project itself because, well, let me just back up a little bit. I'm Mary Wilson. I am a co-founder of Ubuntu Community Catalyst, and as the director of the Health Opportunity Pilot, which is an initiative that's being coordinated by the Georgia Health Policy Center. And we are actually in our first year of that program. And that program is all about improving vital conditions, in under-resourced communities, which brings me to our early childhood education program. So I was excited to see that you are focusing on that area. We do have an early childhood community action team, which is comprised of residents and not only residents, but because we provide a fostering family leaders component, which is a training around promoting early childhood education. And it's also about developing leadership to help parents, caregivers, early childhood education, educators. We are also pursuing a partnership with Fulton County Schools around providing our FFL training to their early childhood education students. They're opening a new career academy, and early childhood education is one of the certifications that young people can opt into. I say all of that because in addition to offering the leadership development piece and promoting early childhood education, we do recognize that because of the low birth rate now, that some of the schools perhaps in the future will have fewer eligible or qualified early childhood education programs. So we're thinking about, well, what does that mean? If we are looking to promote early childhood education, yet we don't have enough qualified, maybe independent early childhood centers that provide quality education, what should our role be? Should it be also to advocate for additional quality education funding for the independent service providers so that their staff can offer quality education in the early childhood space so that we can still ensure that our children are ready for school. And then the second piece of that is IEPs. Some of our parents that are participating and leading this initiative around early childhood education have children that are on the spectrum, autism and other learning challenges. And that's another area that we're looking to address. So this seems like a good opportunity, for us to apply, to have this connection and to build this kind of connection with your center so that we can build our capacity, especially around research. And because we haven't had the capacity or the skills to do the research that we are thinking about, I think this would be a good opportunity for us. So I wanted to say that, and then to follow up, I wanted to find out
Mary, if you don't mind,
in terms of the narrative. In terms of the narrative, I'm sorry.
If you don't mind, could I clarify one thing for me and for us? You are a 501c3 organization?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and you have community partners as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And as I said, we are the South Fulton site for Health Opportunity Pilot, which is part of a statewide initiative. We are one of 6 sites in the state of Georgia around our health equity.
Okay, great.
So my second follow-up question was about the narrative. Do you have any idea in terms of how many pages, or what are you looking for? A lot of RFPs that we pursue have limitations around, how many pages or how many characters or any of those things.
Yeah, I feel like there's a word count.
Okay.
Yeah, not looking for these to be extra long, because as Dr. Mayberry explained, we do see this as a professional development opportunity. And so you may not have all fleshed out what the research project is or whatever the case, but that it doesn't need to be very, very long. But we
Okay.
do need to make sure that it's clear that your work aligns with the priorities of our center as well as the priorities of our funder. And so those are kind of the main things, but I I will go back and check, but I think that there's some word limits in terms of each response.
And I think I have another question.
Caveat here, as we make sure that we have a word count page limit on the narrative itself. If you're kind of getting familiar with funding in general and federal funding specifically, we're all being forced to limit the number of pages that we submit in a proposal, and we're up to 6 now. Well, I mean, we're down to 6 now. It used to be up to 12, now we're down to 6, so that gives you a gauge right there. But we'll make sure we clarify what we're
Okay.
as far as page limits.
So after we submit the letter of intent, will you get back to us to say whether we should prepare a proposal?
We typically have not, but we can if if it seems like it's very like it's off, it's not going to really align. I think that we can reach out.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yep, and just to continue to clarify some of the questions that are in the chat, this opportunity is for community-based organizations. And when we say community-based organizations, these are typically nonprofits. These are not universities, not health departments, not state, city, local government, because we know that those entities typically have opportunities to get funding from other sources. And so we really wanted to open the floor for community partners who typically don't have these opportunities to get funding to do research on the very innovative and great work that they do in the community. And so we wanted to make sure we had this opportunity available for them. So so I apologize if that was not clear on the website in terms of the folks that we have funded in the past and in our communications. So other questions people have? We will have a follow-up session, I believe, in 2 weeks or so. If people want to come back and have specific questions about the application, or as you begin to work through it, and you want to work with us on something, we will make that time available to do that. And we will also kind of share some of the same information. But if you specifically want to work on your application with us and have some specific questions, we can make that time available too. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, well, if nothing else, we will definitely share this recording with folks as well as the slides. We'll make sure to get the updated application for 2024 on the website so you can have it. But again, it hasn't changed much beyond the dates. So we'll make sure to get that updated on the website. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us. You don't have to wait, until your letter of intent is due or whatever. You can ask questions as they come up. So thank you all so much for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you.